In order to properly market your business and communicate effectively on your social media channels, you need to understand who it is that you're communicating to. This means you need to select and create your target audience. And this is the very first step to understand who your audience is and what your audience wants. So what we're going to do in this lesson is to learn how you select and create your target audience in order to better understand who your customer is. Once you know this, it will be easier for you to create the right product or the right service, but also to create the best content on your social media channels. When selecting your audience, you should always segment the market according to those following 4 characteristics: geographic, demographic, psychographic, and behavioral factors. Smith and Taylor have given us a detailed guide on how you can select and create your target audience. Let's review it. First, you should define your target audience based on where they come from. This is the common way hospitality tends to target their market or their audience. But if your business is a restaurant, you can also determine the audience based on where they work, or if they are tourists, based on where they stay. This is one of many ways on how you can use geographic segmentation. Then you should segment your market on their demographic information. This is the most common way to segment a market. You want to know more about the age group of your market, their gender, income, family status, and so on. You can even target your audience based on a nationality. For example, if your business is a pub in Bangkok, you might want to attract British expatriates working in the city. Like that, you have identified 2 demographic factors, British expatriates, and 1 geographic factor, living in Bangkok. You can also target your audience based on their psychographics. This is based on how your audience thinks, acts, and what motivates them in life in general. You can segment based on their personality, or their lifestyle, or also on their hobbies. For example, a mountain resort in Switzerland might want to attract German families, geographic factor, with children under 14, demographic factor, who love to ski and snowboard, psychographics factor. This is one way of using psychographics in your segmentation. And finally, there is a segmentation that tends to be used the most in hospitality, which is the behavioral segmentation. Behavioral segmentation looks at how the target audience or target market is using the product. For example, beach resorts tend to attract people who travel on honeymoon. This is one example of behavioral segmentation. Or another example, a restaurant might want to attract a market that is dining out for their lunch break. Lunch break is a behavioral segmentation. Or if we take a spa, for example, the spa might want to attract customers who need a massage for relaxation purposes. This is also a behavioral segmentation. So when you create your target audience, it is important for you to define a minimum of 1 or 2 factors for each segmentation type. For example, if you're a hotel in Switzerland, you do not want to say that you're going for the Chinese market. This is far too broad. But on the other hand, you don't want to go overboard and define 36 or 74 characteristics for your target audience. This would be too much and not make much sense. What you want to do is you want to choose 1 to 2 geographic factors, 2 to 3 demographic factors, 1 or maybe 2 behavioral factors, and again 1, maybe 2 psychographic factors. So for example, my hotel in Switzerland, I have identified that there is an opportunity to attract the Chinese market to my hotel. As this market keeps on growing, but I want to segment this market and attract only 1 specific market. So this is how I would define it. First of all, I would define China, we've discussed that, but people who live in an urban environment. I want to focus on 23 to 24 years old, single, working in middle management. I want to focus as well on people who travel twice a year as FIT, frequently individual traveler, for leisure purposes. And finally, I want to focus on people who love fashion and who follow trends very closely. Like that, the way we've segmented this market, we have a better identification of who it is we are trying to communicate to and trying to attract to our organization. So now it is your turn. I would like you to think about one hospitality-related business in your hometown and then define and create a target audience base for that business using the information we just reviewed. I would encourage you to go back to the Smith and Taylor table to identify what are the characteristics you would like to be focusing on. For the case study, this exercise is not necessary as the target market has already been defined by your sales and marketing director, Mrs. Bernard. What you have to do is to select your target market, appendix number 1, and then justify where you think it makes more sense for you to focus on that particular market. And then based on that, you will create your buyer persona, which will be the discussion in our next video. I have been using that particular book for this discussion, and I would highly encourage you to go to the library and borrow it to have a look and read the chapter for a better understanding of how targeting segmentation works.